Hey there! Thank you for tuning in to Chats with Hannah. Today we'll be chatting with Karen Nathan. She's a mom to a toddler. What I love about her is the way she includes sensory play with her child as an everyday activity. So let's chat with her and find out more about how she does it and see if she has any tips for us parents. Hi, Karen. Thank you for joining us and thank you for agreeing to do this with the Playdate community.
Thank you, Hannah. It's such a joy to be talking to you about this, and I absolutely love what Playdate has been doing. So it's really a joy for me.
Thank you so much. So let's dive right in, okay? So as a mom, I've seen a lot of things that you do on your Instagram page and even your WhatsApp statuses, and it's so inspiring. So could you tell us, what is the thought process that you go through while you plan a sensory activity for Amana?
Okay, I think it's a combination of stuff, but mainly just observing things that she's been doing herself, what she picks up at home and how she plays with those things, what her natural inclinations are. And every week or so, they keep changing. So I'm just observing her and seeing what she would naturally gravitate to, because I want a lot of play time through whichever activity I plan for her. So I'm just looking for things that will really keep her occupied for a while. Plus, it's also things that we've introduced her newly to, like if we've taken her to a beach, I try to do something beach themed with her so she can register that experience at home. So just taking inside the home a little bit of the outside world and helping her experience life outside in a safe space inside. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really key. I really like what you even shared about it being child-led, because sometimes I think we have agendas on our head, or we see other people doing things and, we want to imitate that, but not necessarily every child is inclined to. So to actually watch your child, understand your child, and then sort of lead your child in that direction. So yeah, I think that's a really important point. Thank you for sharing. So my second question is, what is your 5 sensory activity hack? What is your 5 go-to when you plan your sensory activities?
I do a lot of water-based stuff, so that's really top there for us, because my daughter is into water all the time. Just give her a mug of water or a basin of water, and she's just absolutely happy with it. So anything water-based with a little color thrown in, some utensils added in, shapes of stuff like loose parts thrown in for just some texture and stuff. She loves that. So that's one regular thing that we do, water-based activities. The other thing would be stuff like, clay mud or sand, anything which is gooey, sticky, grainy, stuff like that. That's again a big hit at home. We've done things like road construction themes and farm themes and stuff like that. Things which she sees in her books that she can relate to while she's playing. Water beads is something that I always stock at home. It's like these really small, tiny pouches of stuff that are super, super friendly for us, because they can be reused. They're really inexpensive. They become these real colorful beads overnight. They grow overnight. So that's something interesting. We like colored rice. Which child doesn't like rice? You just love scooping and pouring and playing with it. Sometimes my daughter would just put her feet on it, feel the rice. So that's a lot of fun. And even science reactions like effervescence, seeing baking soda and vinegar come together and bubble up with a little color thrown in, like a small volcano effect, all that is a lot of fun. So these are the top 5 things we keep repeating on and off. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really fun. I think they're diverse in their own sense. And kids are not bored that easily, right? In the sense that if you can repeat your activity after a week, they're still quite engaged in it. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
That's true.
So my next question is, what are some of 2 of the challenges that you find yourself in when you do these sensory activities?
I think as a parent, I'm always concerned about what am I going to do with these things once the play is over, and how am I going to store it? Is it something that'll get spoiled, especially if it's taste safe? Then it's ingredients that are going to be perishable. So I've got to look at storage even before I, put a setup up. And the other thing is mess, of course, like just making sure that there's a control space where I let her be herself, because I don't want to monitor her too much or constrain her too much. So just letting her make a mess of things without it affecting my schedule and the home as such. So these are two things which I'm always thinking of, and yeah, so those are challenges for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, and I'm sure parents out there can as well. So, what are some of the tools that you would use to help you overcome these challenges? Because it's true, right? Like sensory play is messy. It is sort of inconveniencing the parent in so many ways. So, what are some of the things that you would like the tools that you would use?
I think one of the things that really worked well for us was a dry vacuum clean stick. Not the full-fledged vacuum cleaners, which do a lot of things, but this would just suck up dry grains that fall on the floor or rice or powdery stuff really well. So in between my in between times when my maid would come clean up and go and things just get messy, I would just use the vacuum cleaner and suck up mess that has fallen on the floor. A large shower curtain that I could just put on the floor would also help with the liquid spills. Just keep the floor clean and stuff like that. Baskets, zips, and Ziploc pouches for easy storage, because then I can just throw everything into the Ziploc pouch and just put it away and then reuse it easily. So yeah, these are stuff that really helped me. Just having them handy with me was so, it would put me at peace. So I could just have these activities for her without thinking too much. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely helpful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. So, in my last question to you is, what is the encouragement that you would give parents out there for sensory play? Because, like we discussed, right, like sensory play is sort of inconvenient for the parent. It is messy. It sort of gets. It's just a lot of other things that can sort of like parents can sort of take an aversive thing to it, and sometimes kids don't necessarily even like sensory play,
Like,
right? Because the sensory stuff is new, and it sort of like tingles their sensations and stuff like that. So as a parent and as you doing it with your child, like what is the encouragement you would give other parents out there?
I think sometimes I might take just too much of effort in putting up an activity from scratch. But when I look around my home, there are just so many opportunities for sensory play, just through the things we do at home, like laundry. When I see a big pile of freshly washed clothes lying on the bed, waiting to be folded, I can let my daughter just roll in them, and just the different textures, the different fabrics excite her. Just the feeling of being drowned in clothes is fun for a child. And then things like just washing rice. We eat rice quite often, and we always wash it before cooking. So that can become a nice sensory water-based activity for her. If I let her interrupt my cooking, that this is so much in the kitchen that can be done, I think. So washing rice is one, and squeezing a piece of tamarind when I'm about to make sambar. That's again something that I would do myself, but if I would just give it to her, she would enjoy just putting her fingers in and stuff. Even a nice warm bubble bath with some neem leaves thrown in. She just loves it and doesn't want to get out of it. So things like that, just swirling in water, seeing a lot of bubbles around. And so there are so many natural ways of involving sensory play through the day that I sometimes may be blind to, and instead of setting up something separately for her, just to pause, to slow down, to notice things that are already there at home, and to allow her into that, just to be chill with being disrupted, I guess. So that's helpful, being willing to be disrupted in your schedules.
Yeah, thank you so much, Karen. I think like that's a good takeaway. for us parents to be okay with being disrupted. It's natural, it's their growing process, and they're learning so much to it. So I think it's definitely worth allowing ourselves some disruption. Yeah.
True.
Thank you so much, Karen. This is really great, good, helpful stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. I loved chatting with you, Hannah. It was fun.
Thanks.